don't hesitate to jump in. I see a lot of guys who are kind of nervous and don't want to mess up. They need you to progress. The only way you're going to do that is by getting your hands on it, making that mistake, and getting better the next time. Just dig in and go for it. Don't hesitate. The other tech was behind the unit. I'm sitting there talking to him over the unit, and all of a sudden he disappears from my vision.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like this video. And if you're listening to this on the audio over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other platform, please leave a review. That's all free and it helps support the show and helps it get out to more people. And of course, I'm your host, Adrian Garcia. I am an HVAC technician, licensed contractor here in Texas, and I've been doing this about 18 years. And we just have a lot of good conversations with good people in different trades now, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical. I've had some others in like auto mechanics, anything like that. You bring them on, have a good conversation, and hopefully get more trade awareness out there. So I appreciate everybody who's watched or listened, all the support and making this podcast successful and what it is now. I also want to thank the sponsors of the show, like Jobber, which is a CRM that we use to run our business, which is invoicing, quoting, scheduling jobs, maintenance contracts. It makes it so easy, and all our technicians on our team usually pick it up relatively quickly. I just have to show them what it is and they are able to get out there and start, invoicing everything that needs to be done. I can also update prices, client list, everything remotely, and they have it there on their phone, tablet, or laptop. It's been great running our business with Jobber now, and if you guys want a free trial and discount, make sure to check the link down below, getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. I also want to thank Vito Pro Pack, the best quality bags that money can buy, literally. Spring promotion is the best time of year by far. So check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com to learn more. And the podcast is also brought to you by Local. Local HQ is a marketing that is geared towards the trades, and they can help you with your HVAC digital marketing so that you can dominate your local service areas with proven strategies that get your business more leads. They can help you rank higher on Google and all that you would need for your business. So reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free. On today's episode, we have a national champion, Dustin Hawkins, from the Apprentice division of the HVAC Nationals. And we'll get into exactly what that means on this episode. I'll let him talk about his journey and what it was like competing in this national championship that was nationally televised and everything that came with it. But if you think you're a top HVAC tech with skills to compete against some of the nation's best, then you should try and compete in the Service Titan HVAC National Championship powered by Train in their round 1 digital challenge. This is a quick 5-minute multiple choice quiz with questions provided by Nate. This could be your ticket to winning your share of tens of thousands of dollars and all expenses paid trip to West Palm Beach in Florida this October. Compete for the coveted title of 2025 Service Titan HVAC National Champion. And this is all part of their bigger Service Titan Elite Trades Championships. Don't wait, it's free to enter. Head over to hvacnationals.com before June 30th to compete. And now I'll let Dustin explain all this. Enjoy the episode. Dustin, welcome to the show, man. How are you and how you been?
I'm pretty good. It's been a crazy year, especially with the start and all the snow coming in. But
Where are
I'm
you
doing
at?
great. I'm in central Illinois, right where that storm went through and kind of did some
Dude,
dropping of snow.
it's been really weird because I'm in Texas. We're not used to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did some time in San Antonio. I got stationed
Mm.
down there for a school for a little bit, and yeah, it was rather hot the entire time.
Were you there during the summer or?
Oh man, I think so. I distinctly remember driving from San Diego to get
Yeah.
there and going through like Arizona and it being like 120.
Yeah, and it's funny because every climate is or every region is different. So like it's like for us, I think the people I relate to the most are the people in the South, right? Like Florida, stuff like that, because we get a lot of
Hmm.
humidity, and that stuff makes everything just worse. And then
Yes.
it's like hot and sticky. You know, if you get humidity, you understand. And then like North Texas is closer to like the middle of the the country and stuff like that, so they get like a dry heat and stuff like that. So then it's like, oh, it's not that bad. I've had friends come down here during the summer, like for events, like different things, and then they're like, no, you guys have a different kind of heat. Like it's like hot and sticky, and it feels uncomfortable. I'm like, that's year round.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I probably despise the most about Central Illinois is because for
Yeah,
some reason it is insanely humid here.
it's funny because that plays into effect. Because like the other day it was like 40 or 50 outside, maybe 40. And I check because now that I'm older, now that I'm in HVAC, I check the weather, I check the little dew point, humidity levels, all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff now. Like I never did before. And no, it was 90% humidity and it was like 40 outside. So then it
yeah,
feels even colder because it's all wet.
yeah, yeah. I've been all over the states, and I would say that um, the cold and humid is like anytime you add humidity to anything, it makes it worse.
Humidity to heat, humidity to cold, it just makes it a whole lot worse. And we have a bunch of it. I'm by the coast also. So we deal with
Okay.
that too. We have a beach about an hour and a half away. So like, and that's a whole other thing. The rust, the stuff that we see over here, I'm sure you've seen it
Yeah.
too. Like it just eats at the units. Have you worked on anything that's like by a beach or by seawater?
No, I didn't start doing HVAC until I was in Central Illinois.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I've been I was in the military for 5 years, and I was all over the West Coast. So I got to enjoy the rust and salt of that because I was also in the Navy. So we're always scrubbing the ship, getting salt off of things, and rust
So is
is, you know,
is that what you did right after high school? You went into the military?
yeah, yeah. I went in the military and did a random job to start where I just was like a deckhand essentially,
Hmm.
and we did a lot of like industrial maintenance kind of stuff, because we're always sanding and needle gunning the deck and then repainting it to deal with the salt and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so, but after that, I did military police, and that was none of that. So I just sat in a car or stand at that gate forever.
And you said how many years were you in the military?
I did 5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
Uh,
Was
yeah. And
that
then
was that a plan of yours, or how did that come about? Like going into the military out of high school,
it was
or
a
was
plan
there
to
no
figure out a
plan?
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I've got to do something.
So try
And
this.
I, yeah, I always liked the military. I thought it was always cool. I had a grandfather who was in the Navy and a grandmother who was in the Army, and
Oh, okay.
I always thought it was nice, and I always wanted to serve, but um, I really knew that it was something that would help me kind of get that schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
you get
routine and the
exactly.
discipline, all the aspects of being in the military.
Exactly. Yeah. And it really did help push that for me.
Yeah, I've known some people, I've had friends that do that, and it turns them around because they're not like that before. They come out of there and they're like,
Yeah.
better for it. And it helps with a lot of things in life, right? You could go and stay there, make a career out of it, or you could go through it, do the 5 years, whatever you want to do, and then come out of it and then have that discipline, routine, schedule, whatever you want to call it, like for your next
Yeah.
phase in life, right?
Exactly. And then the added benefit of the benefits like the GI
Yes.
Bill and stuff that paid for me to go to school because I did a 1 year certificate program at a community college for HVAC.
So then in the military, didn't you? I mean, I know you had those jobs that you mentioned, but you didn't do any schooling while there, right?
And not for like HVAC or anything.
Yeah,
No,
because
not
I know
anything.
some buddies that do that.
Yeah. I do kind of wish that I had figured out that HVAC was my thing before I got out of the military, because I have talked to a few people that have done it in the military and they say it was a pretty good gig.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard some cool things about that, but again, like even myself, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do into my early 20s, right? I'm still figuring it out as well, trying to do the college route. And I went to a
Yeah.
community college too and figured out about HVAC a little bit later. After changing my major a couple times because I don't know what the hell I was doing, finally landed there and I'm like, okay, this is what I actually would, like to do later. So, I
Right.
went through the school, I went through all that and kind of got out and I worked with my dad. So like it was a easy transition for me. Really quick before we get too far into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like
Yeah.
what you do and who you are?
Yeah. My name's Dustin Hawkins, as you can see on the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm a service technician for a mostly commercial company now. I've been doing this for about 3 years, a little over 3 years now. And it's been kind of a interesting long journey where it's taken me places I never knew it
Three
would
years is
go.
crazy. Uh,
Yeah,
I thought you had been doing this a little bit longer, but I'll get into what I'm going to bring up in a minute. Go ahead.
yeah. So, I mean, it started out residential for me, which I think for a lot of people it does. But I've always kind
Re-
of had an interest. Go ahead.
residential, I'm sorry, residential install or service?
So I had a unique situation where I went straight into service,
Oh, okay.
which I hear isn't always the normal way of doing
No,
things.
usually not.
So I did about, I would say, 8 weeks of like training, ride-alongs, and some sitting in and doing like classes and stuff. And then I had my own service van, and I was running maintenance and service calls.
And that's what you got into commercial then, right?
Right. So I just recently transitioned into mostly commercial work. Um,
Which do you like
and
better?
commercial, yeah,
Commercial.
definitely
I'm a
commercial.
commercial guy too.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's yeah, there's quite a lot of differences, and so
Oh
far
yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know. I like working on the bigger equipment. Now I still do like the kitchen work. So my dad does kitchen appliances, so like stoves, fryers, anything like that. That's what he started his business for. And I came in and did HVAC. So I still got to do like the reach and coolers and the ice machines, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you deal with that or you do only HVAC.
Yeah.
You do
No,
all that?
yeah, that's one of the
Oh,
things that
okay.
I've started to learn on, and it's been kind of a fun little journey because
it's
those
it's
things are all
fun.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of the things I love, that everything's different every day. I work on an ice machine, then I work at a hospital and do some other stuff. Every
right.
day is different. But the little ones, like the reach-ins and ice machines especially, they're fun, but they're harder. Like everything's like in a tight space. You got to do all this extra stuff. You're working around people usually. Like there's a whole other side of complications that come with like any of the smaller stuff. I always tell people like the smaller it is, the harder it actually is to work on.
Yeah, the 2 days ago, I was working in a McDonald's on their frappe machine.
Oh, that sounds
So
interesting.
yeah, it's wild because the condensing deck and everything is in the back in a tiny little compartment that is all bolted in. And to get to
Yep.
something, because I mean, 8 out of 10 times it's because it's dirty.
Yeah, I was
Things
gonna
are
say
just
I've never
just
worked at a McDonald's, so I'm not familiar with those. But like that reminds me of like ice cream machines. I've worked on margarita
right.
machines. The little compact thing. It's on the counter, shoved in the corner somewhere, and then you got to get to
Yeah,
it.
the biggest and hardest part about it is getting all the components out of the system that you need to work on.
Yep. And then changing that dryer, looking for that dryer, all the little pipes, all the little They fit so much. I mean, it's cool. Like I like seeing that kind of stuff, like taking it apart and seeing how it works. It is cool that how much technology, how much crap they put into those things. But then like when you're like, oh man, I got to work on it now. Like, how am I going to get to this valve or
Yeah.
this part here? Like it's kind of like a puzzle sometimes trying to get everything out and then like putting that new valve, that new dryer in and making it all fit together, right? Putting all the panels back and make sure it fits right.
And I think this is exactly where that whole rivalry between engineers and technicians comes
Oh,
from.
dude.
Because we understand it's cool, we think it's cool,
Yeah.
but then we've got to work on it.
It's between engine, it's always a service guy. It's between the engineers and the service tech, and then between an installer and a service tech, right? Because not all
Right. Yeah.
installers service their own equipment. Usually the a service guy will come out there after the fact or after it's been running for a while. Someone else will go work on it, and I'm always like, why did they put it here? Why did they do this? And then
Yeah.
as far
Exactly.
as like engineering, I work on a lot of walk-ins, and I'm like, they keep changing where they like on a walk-in cooler, freezer, condenser. They keep changing where the service ports are, and now they're facing inwards on a lot of ones that we have right now. And I'm like, I can't fit like my core removal tools on them. Like, how am I supposed to do my
Right.
vacuum? How am I like? They don't want us to do all this proper procedure. That's how I think in my head. I'm like, how am I supposed to do everything? And then I don't get it. Like I don't get like I understand they probably want the ports hidden because of like people that steal it or huff it or whatever it is that they do. But then it's a pain for me. I'm like, it's on a rooftop. I don't think there's going to be an issue there. But actually, you know what? Never mind. Because there's a guy that I watch in California on the rooftops. They've had tweakers rip out the copper and the coils
Yeah.
and everything, and I'm like, how the hell did they get up there?
Yeah, I think I've watched the same thing because they'll show a video of them walking up there and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden the coil's gone. Like so
I'm
they
like,
threw that
dude,
off the roof and everything.
that's I'm like, how the hell did they even rip these apart? Well, first, like, how did they get up there, and how did they rip it out? And yeah, I've never seen it personally, but like I've seen it with the guys that I watch, like on YouTube and stuff, like the guys that are on California. I guess they're in
Hmm.
some areas that happens quite a bit, so it always amazes me.
What was funny to me when I was down in California was seeing all the residential AC units just on the roofs of regular houses.
Oh yeah, I had never
So
seen
that
that until I was watching people online.
yeah, it's it's funny that you have to go to that lengths to do it.
There's a It's in California that I've seen it, and Arizona, and then like some parts of Texas that are like closer to that side. They
Hmm.
do it. They do it on the roof, and they could be a little package unit. I've seen even just the split system up there.
Right.
I've seen every like they'll put it on the roof, and I'm like, man, if I was a because my whole thing is like I don't do residential. I prefer not to do it. There's just a lot that I don't want to deal with. Right? You go to a commercial site, you get on the rooftop, everything's there. Now, if I was a residential tech, I would hate for my system to be on the roof because the whole thing about a residential tech is everything is ground level. Like usually that's what you're expecting, and I was like, man, I never knew about that. And it doesn't look fun because a lot of those roofs are pitched pretty steep.
Right, yeah. So you might as well have a roofing background if you want to get
Oh
into
yeah,
the
I've
HVAC
asked
out
people. I'm
there.
like, how do you do that? And they're like, oh, your ankles hurt after a couple years, but you get used to it.
That sounds not fun.
No,
I'll
I'm
stick
good.
to a flat roof.
I'm good. Yeah, I know. A flat roof that might be slippery. I don't know if you've run into that.
Oh yeah.
Have you busted on a? I've slipped a few times on some roofs.
I recently had a oh crap moment with that because I was trying to pull up a heat exchanger onto a movie theater.
I also want to thank Diversitech. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. more than likely you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. I've gotten a lot of compliments on these line set penetration covers. They're basically, when you get an install done, you have the line set coming out the house or whatever a wall you came out of, you normally have to put like foam spray or cover it up somehow. Eric's has these covers that just look professional, and I like the form factor. I've seen others and they're a little bit too bulky. This one, it just gives you what you need. They have two different models. If you need a slimmer one, they have that too. And what I really like is they finally have now one for existing line sets. Now it's two pieces, and you kind of just put them together over the line set and then mount it and drill it in. And it's a good selling point to make an existing install look better. I've gotten so many compliments, like I said. So make sure you go over to ericsmfg.com and check them out. Okay.
And it was small enough heat exchanger where it wasn't too bad. We had two people lifting it up, and so it wasn't too bad. But we just had that snow, and it's that white roof.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up too.
We were pulling, and I slipped while pulling it up and started moving towards the edge. Luckily, there was like a tiny little lip, but it definitely made me change my shorts later because that was pretty intense.
So you caught yourself though?
I did. Well, yeah, I'm here.
You didn't drop the heat exchanger or anything?
Nope. I got lucky. We didn't drop the heat exchanger, nothing. It was kind of a convenient thing where I fell and then slid to the edge and then was held there.
Man, well, I've never had to deal with, only one time, like I mentioned earlier, the freeze that we had. I had to be careful with the rooftops because we had a bunch of calls during that time. Like all the, it's because we had new customers. So like all the coolers and freezers, like they were all short cycling, not turning on. And it's because I didn't find any leaks. So I was like, no, like whoever installed it didn't put in the winter charge, didn't fill up the receiver so that it didn't have enough. And then, that's when you have issues with your low ambient pressure switches, stuff like that. Like all these issues come out here because like it'll run good 90% of the year. And then if it ever gets like under 40, that's when you find those issues. And that's when I have to be careful because there was ice on the roof, stuff like that. It wasn't like a ton of calls, but I had to be careful. But I was going to mention the white roofs because like here they get them redone every now and then. And it's like not only slippery, it's blinding too. So I got those extra dark sunglasses when that happens. And then there was one that like I was just so mad at myself. I slipped like 3 times in the same spot because the way they did the roof, like there was these little pockets, and if it rains, which it does rain here quite a bit sometimes, the puddle of water just accumulates. I slipped in the same damn spot 3 times. I was so pissed.
I was we were working on a heat exchanger once, and the other tech was behind the unit, and I'm standing there talking to him over the unit, and all of a sudden he disappears from my vision just because he slips on that stuff. Because water, ice, like that roof is slick no matter what.
Oh yeah, man. So I know what you mean with the roof, because it's such a pain when they get these people to do these roofs because they'll just start spraying everything. I don't know if you've had like disconnects sealed shut with that foam on the roof. And you have to cut around it or cut it open. Like I've had a bunch of those.
There's a place that I've had to go to several times where their roof is just an absolute mess, and there's just piles of like tar where they just threw a bucket of tar down and tried to spread it out, and like patches of the white stuff, and it's all bubbly and it's wild. You have to walk on that with footies on just so you don't destroy your boots.
There is I guess they don't check on them. They don't check their work because everywhere they do it here, it's super uneven, like a lot of pockets. And I even had one. And I'll always post about it on like Instagram or YouTube, like when I see this stuff, because it just blows me away. There was one time they redid the roof, so they had to, I guess at this one they took down the disconnects, right? So like on the walk-ins, and I don't remember if it was the ACs too or not, but like they uh, unmounted the disconnects, kind of laid them down so they could spray around them and stuff. They left those disconnects on the floor, like they unmounted
Mm.
them, laid them down, and left them there after they did the roof. I went back during a rainstorm. I popped my head up. I looked. I was like, no, I'm not stepping on this roof. There's disconnects laying in water right now.
But that's the thing with I think all of the trades is y- there's like the good and the bad. And when you go to a roof that's been recently done and you have they're like good tech roof techs and they've done really good, it's actually like really nice being up there. It's super clean, everything's put back together for you, and like it's not going to leak. And with that, you don't get if that's not leaking, then you don't get blamed because a lot of people
Oh
are like,
yeah,
it must be the AC unit leaking.
yep,
So then you don't have to deal with that.
yeah. I've had a few. I'm like, nope, not me. It's plumbing. It's a roof. Whatever. It's not us. And just like when I see, because I do commercials, sometimes different companies are there. If something else is installed nicely, and or like you said, a roof is done nicely, I stand
Right.
back and I kind of admire it because like I don't see that too often.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need more people to take pride in their work. Okay, so you mentioned you've only been doing this 3 years, so you're in your
Right.
apprentice kind of that early stages of your career. I forgot to mention I'm actually talking to an HVAC national champion. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is it's a weird thing to hear, but yes, I went through the Service Titan, the HVAC Nationals, and somehow, some way, I ended up getting first place this year on the apprentice side.
So that's kind of cool. The whole HVAC nationals. Some people have just heard of it, including myself.
Right.
I think it's been going on for a few years now. But or do you know how long the HVAC one has been going on?
I believe it's last year was the third year.
Third, okay. Because they
Yeah.
told me they started with something else and they introduced like HVAC and some other trades. So it's like a growing thing for the trades, a little competition. That's kind of cool. I myself also barely heard of it, and honestly, I probably heard of it through some of the sponsors because I know Navac. I think you guys
Right.
were using Navac tools, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I don't know if you know HVAC Tactical. I think Ben was there. Um,
Yeah, I got to talk to him for a little bit. Yeah, he's a good guy.
well, he's a buddy of mine. He's up in Austin here in Texas too.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how I kind of learned about it through those guys. The guys that I know, some of the guys at Navac, I know Ben, and they were there, kind of showing off what you guys were doing. So, what was that experience like, and how did you get into that? Is that something you got to like apply for? How do you get into it?
So I found out about this whole thing not last year, but the year before, and I found it on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I when I got into this field, I'm I'm super into YouTube and looking up stuff. Like I deep dive on everything I do. So I found videos on everybody. I found your videos. Thank you for your service fan videos. Those
Oh,
are
okay.
helpful. Um,
That's cool.
and I came upon this thing, and I was like, What's the deal here?" And it was just after they did their first one, so they had all the cool little reels of it, and I clicked on it, and the first thing that you end up having to do is a little online test, and it all the questions are generated by Nate,
Okay.
and I can't I know last year, so I've done this 2 years, and I actually went the year before as well.
Mm,
Um, And last year, the test was you get 5 minutes to answer as many questions as you can. And I believe you have to get a certain amount correct out of the amount you do. So I think you have to have like a 70% or better on how many you do.
gotcha.
And if you get into the top 30 something, I think last year was 35, You get to go into the second round of that testing, which ends up being um, a little package sent to you by John Stone, and you have to do a video of you doing welding, doing all the proper procedures, following their step by step, like how they want you to do it. You
Is
have
this
to
something
record
like you
yourself.
build?
Yeah, I should have grabbed it. Um,
You can show me
I,
afterwards, but like
yeah,
I think I had seen that. Like I seen the plumbers, they had to do something too. Like that's is that
right.
kind of the final test?
Yeah, so it's essentially they have like a little block with a service valve on it, and you build a big circle on it with another service port on it, and you
Okay.
just have to weld all those joints together. You get to do all the prep for it before you start actually welding on video, but everything else has to be on video, and it has to be within 20 minutes.
Mm.
So I think it was 12 or maybe 14 joints you had to weld in 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. And then you
Um,
just send them the
and
video, and then they judge you.
exactly, they have a whole bunch of industry guys that go through all the videos and judge everything, and then they pick their final. The first year I went, it was 15 apprentices
Yeah.
that went, um, and then this year it was 10 apprentices that went.
Oh, okay. That's pretty
And
cool
then
to make it in the top 10, regardless.
yeah, it was really cool to find out how many actually took the initial test because I believe it was like 8 or 9 thousand people.
No way. Dang.
Right? Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah. That
expecting
kind
that.
of
I thought it was like a few hundred or something.
right. Yeah, and I was shocked to hear that because I mean that means that I was able to get in with all that competition, and that was
That's
a really
crazy.
cool feeling.
And what was that experience like when you got out there? Like, you got guys, I'm assuming from all over the place meeting up and doing this competition.
It is probably one of the coolest experiences I've had in my life. I think it's just because the attitude of everybody there is like, this is so cool and this is
Yeah.
such a good opportunity for all of us. And let's just have a lot of fun with it, be competitive, and I it's it was a really cool experience. There was just so much going on. You're just in awe the whole time. Like, how is this hotel this nice? How is the
Oh yeah.
food this nice? Like, it's a
Well,
different
they take
experience.
care of you, right? Once you get out there.
Yeah,
That's a cool
they
that's
really
a cool
do.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. Gift baskets and just all the different stuff around. I
That
mean, it was in West Palm Beach. It's a
oh,
pretty cool
okay.
spot. Yeah,
No, and I've talked to the people in charge of it, and that's kind of how we came to doing basically we're doing a little series where we have some of the competitors on the show, but they seem super enthusiastic, super, for this, for trade awareness, helping out people, so I can imagine the experience was really cool. And then just being around people like that, because my whole thing with social media, obviously you said you've seen or you've been on Instagram, YouTube, um, like here I don't see that kind of passion from too many people, right? Or people that even
right.
have fun at work. Some people are miserable. I've worked with people that are miserable at work, and they just want to get out, or they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to, do the right things either. I've run into all of that kind of stuff. Then I find the social media stuff or the people, and it's like-minded individuals, right? Everybody wants to be better. Everybody wants to make sure they're doing the right steps. They want to put out their best work, and that's what I found cool. So like the only thing that I've been to is like the AHR Expo or the HVAC Tactical
Yeah,
Award Show. That's where I get to group with people like that, and it's just like you said, one of the best experiences because it's the people, the people you can talk to and relate to, and then they want to see you succeed. It's not like here everybody's like competition. They want to put you down. It's a whole
yeah.
different feeling.
Yeah, it's really cool to because people all on the same page really bring you up. It takes everything up another notch. And it was nice to see everybody like just having fun. Like everybody was smiling. Everyone's like, there was nothing negative going on whatsoever. And it was such
That's
a
awesome.
cool experience.
How stressful was it during the competition?
Oh man. It was kind of a weird scenario for me. Like I was stressed, but for some reason I just kind of felt good. I
Like
just
you
felt
were
like
able
I
to,
was in a groove.
yeah, you were able
Yes.
to block it out and kind of zone in.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't expect it, but you don't notice the cameras. You don't notice anything going on, especially
Uh,
if you just focus on the job. It's
yeah,
weird.
I was gonna say I did watch some clips after it aired and everything on this last one. I don't think I got to catch up on the Apprentice one. I think I was watching the pros or whatever they call them, because there is like a Apprentice version and a pro. Like there's different
Right.
groups. So the only thing for me is like, it's funny that you say you don't notice the cameras and all that, because I was like, these guys are like, well, I guess they're from afar, right? They're zooming in on everybody's little mistakes here and there, and then there's a guy with a microphone. What are we gonna do
Yeah.
here? You. It looks like you messed up here, and I'm like, I would have snapped at that dude. I would have been so upset. So I can't imagine doing a
Yeah.
competition like that.
It was definitely interesting because those zoomed in shots are actually them zooming into your face.
Yeah.
Uh, I re I remember specifically the first time I went. There was a point where I was at their little makeshift supply house in the corner of the like
Okay.
competition area, and I am drenched with sweat. Like it is just dripping off of me. And the camera guy is like inches from my face. And I'm just like, this has got to be the best shot.
I was gonna say, like, to them, they're trying to get all the shocked faces or the worried
Yeah,
faces or like you said, sweating. Like those are good shots to them, and it's like, where you're just working, and I'm thinking about like
right,
myself at work. I'm drenched in sweat. I don't look camera ready or whatever you want to call it. So
right.
definitely interesting.
Yeah, it was and I feel like I had a little bit more fun with it this year. Maybe, and I think that has to come with that I went the year before.
Hmm.
And I kind of knew what to expect and how it was going to be a little bit. Um, but I was able to kind of remain kind of calm and just really focus on the job. Um,
So
and
are there, like I said, I only watch clips. Are there different things, like are these considered different rounds, or what is it that you guys have to actually do to compete?
yeah, so like I was saying, I had the first round, which is the test. Second round is the at-home video thing, and then you get to the final round, the final championship thing. And the year before, it was two rounds of
Okay.
stuff where they eliminated some of the 15 and then went on to a second round and then they went down to the final three. This year, they only had one round with the 10 apprentices and 10 pros. And the way they kind of set up is they give you a scope of the job that you have to do and they tell you go do it and you
It's like
have
you,
everything you'll ever go
yeah,
ahead.
it's like you piece it together, because I saw the pro one. They had to like put together a line set and connect it outside, and then the drain from the air handler, stuff like that.
Right. And that kind of is what that's kind of a cool part is they have these really interesting setups for us. They put up walls and they
Yeah.
have all the equipment there. So for the apprentice side of it, we had to set that outdoor unit on a block. We had to bring in the air handler. We had to put an air handler on an air scrubber
Mm,
and then build a supplied plenum with a top cap and then two runs coming off of it. So
okay.
essentially, it just looked like a an air handler and then a plenum and then like a
Yeah.
scarecrow man kind of
Is
thing.
that did you guys build that and then the pros finished it? Is that how that worked, or is it different?
They changed it to where they took that plenum off, and
Okay.
then they had to do all the connecting the indoor and outdoor unit.
Okay. Because like I said, I saw
And
like some of their clips, putting the line set and everything.
right, and the when they actually aired it on CBS Sports, it was a lot of the pros, so you got to see like them going through the whole process. And I'll give a lot of credit to Navac because all their vacuum pumps out on that floor running at the same time, it was not loud.
Oh,
You
that's
would think
right.
it'd be
Yeah.
super loud. It wasn't that loud, which
Yeah.
was
Can you
kind of
imagine if
interesting.
everybody had the old school Robin Air or whatever, like the big
Yeah,
pumps and all running at the same
yeah,
time?
you wouldn't be able to hear a thing.
No. I also want to thank our new sponsors, CallRail. So I've been more into marketing and just online presence with our business, even though we only do commercial. Word of mouth is really good for any business. But once you get to a place where you want to be, a big name online or just anywhere, be recognizable, like I said, online presence, have a nice website, be able to be searchable in Google and all these different search engines, and just have a big presence. You need to know where to spend your money, and all I'm going to say is that CallRail can help you track that if that's something that you're interested in. CallRail can tell you, hey, these are not working so much. These are working really good. Stop spending your money here. Put more money and effort into this, and just be smarter about what you spend. So make sure you go by callrail.com. They do have a no risk free trial and you can check it out for yourself. I also want to thank another new sponsor, Residio. Basically, they help with a sustainable home and they make it a safer, cleaner, and smarter home. They have so many things that work together. They were showing me the new thermostats that they have going on, how it's implemented together, and all these different little, smart devices that connect and talk to each other. So if you want to learn more, head over to residio.com and check it out for yourself. So you guys had to do like some duct work. What was it, metal or duct board, or what kind of?
Yeah, it was sheet metal. We had to build the plenum um, completely,
See,
and
like me, I've never touched sheet metal.
I've never done it either. Somehow I able to figure it out. And I do owe that to watching the install guys build sheet metal in the mornings because
Okay.
I use some of the things that I
Yeah.
watched them doing, and I think it helped me a lot.
That's crazy because, like, well, even here, when I went to school, I only learned on duct board because that's what we see here. Like, we don't see metal, we don't get any of that.
Right.
Um, so I was just thinking the same thing. Like, if I had to go and they tell me you're doing sheet metal, I would have been like, I give up. I can't do it. Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But if you see
I
it, you can attempt it.
right. And I did I just a lot of my thinking in my head was like, just do it, just go. Like it'll be
That
what it's gonna be.
you never know, and then you could win the whole damn thing like you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did they well, besides the sheet metal, was there anything else that kind of surprised you about that? Like, or was everything else a little bit easier versus like, oh my god, I'm doing sheet metal.
I would say everything else is stuff that I had done on the regular because I had to build the drain line to a condensation pump,
Yeah.
and that was the bulk of the difficult part was the sheet metal because like um, you have to have a top on it, you have to have the two runs coming off of it, and I'm
Oh
like
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never messed with that. And then not to mention, I'm screwing one of the 90s in, and I just absolutely blow through the whole thing and collapse all of one side of the ductwork. So I had to go and get new stuff from the supply house and redo that side of it.
Okay, so you did have a hiccup.
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
I said earlier, I was watching one of them and they I think they kinked their line or something like that. And I was like, damn, like if you mess up, that can cost you quite a bit.
yeah. Luckily,
So
I think there was a lot of luck in mine because I was right next to the supply house set up. So it
yeah.
was right there for me to go, oh, it's right there, grab it and put it up.
And then what do you, what are you guys competing for? I know you get like a nice little trophy, but what else do you get out of that?
One, it's not a nice little trophy. That thing is
Well,
huge and it's heavy. It's such a
yeah.
cool trophy. Um, but the main one that you're thinking about when you're going is that 20 grand. First prize was 20 grand,
Okay. I think
which
I had seen uh yeah, because there, what is it like first through third place? Something like that?
yeah, it's first through third, and it was like 20, and then I think 10, and then five was so third place still got 5 grand, which is pretty wild.
I mean, you never know if anybody wants to go and because they do this every year. So if you see it,
Yeah,
just try it out. Just apply. You never know. And if you end up in the top three, you can take home some nice cash
yeah,
there,
exactly,
and everything was paid for. So I mean,
exactly.
it didn't
That
cost you
was kind of the
anything.
cool part is like with the first time I went, I couldn't complain. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a free trip. It was amazing. I got all those experiences still. And yeah, and this year it was just icing on top that I was able to win.
Yeah, it's a nice chunk of change there. And it's on national TV. There's a lot of cool things. Like I said, I didn't know about all this, but I'll make sure to leave that in the description because I'll leave like the because it's on YouTube. It's on online. You can watch it too, but
Yeah.
it's actually played on TV. How was that seeing it aired? I mean, I'm sure you and your family kind of watched that.
Yeah, so I watched it um I watched it at a bar and I
Oh, okay.
told I told the bar person I was like, "Can I have the remote?" And I put it up on the TV and they're like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "This is the most important show of the year. This is where we've got to watch right now." It's the HVAC competition on there. And it was cool because I was sitting there with buddies and like, "Is that you?" I'm like, "Yep, that's me." So that was a
That's
weird
awesome.
experience.
I can imagine, man, because TV, like TV, it's real TV. It's not just on YouTube. It's not just here and there. It's
Right,
actually on TV, and
right,
you'll always have that. That's cool.
right.
So,
I have three boys and they were super pumped about it.
oh, that's awesome. How old are they?
I have a 8-year old, a 6-year old, and a 2-year old.
That's awesome. I have two kids. So my older boy, he's 11. Doesn't really care too much. He's into his video games, that kind of stuff. His friends and
Right,
stuff.
yeah,
Our daughter is 9 now. She's super curious about everything, but she likes to question everything. So she's into whatever I do. If I'm trying to fix something here at the house, she's like, "What are you doing?" And she wants to help. And then she's
right,
found my YouTube and my podcast. And it was funny the other day, she was walking around on her iPad and she found my podcast. I don't remember why. I think I don't know. It was on there for some reason, and she played it, and I just hear my podcast playing throughout the house because she's kept walking around just listening to it. I was like, oh, okay. If you want to
I think
learn some of the
I'd be
trade,
more nervous. Yeah, I would be more nervous of my kids watching that stuff
yeah,
than the nation. It would make me
I know,
so
right?
nervous. Yeah,
Well, the same thing with my girlfriend because she watches everything too, and I'm like, oh, like I don't know if you want to watch this one. It's not a good one, but like, yeah, like I do the YouTube, I do the podcast, so um, I try to keep it separate here. Like I don't tell everybody I do it, like my kids and stuff. Like don't worry about that. That's work stuff. Don't worry about that right now because it's funny. But my daughter wants to fix things here and there, and she's into it, so that's kind of cool.
that is good because we definitely need more women in the industry.
We'll see because yeah, I've been trying to get some on here on the podcast to kind of tell their side of things because like women, sometimes they come. I have one that I'm hopefully going to get on soon, like from nursing. She went into HVAC. I'm like, man, that's a big change, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
That's
that
cool
is
to
a big
see.
change. Yeah, that's cool.
I actually have a cousin that just started working with us, and he came from nursing too, but it's because they kind of screwed up his whole hospital. They changed what he was doing. They turned it into like a mental wing. He had all these like things that didn't sit well with him, and a new boss and everything. He's like, you know what? I've always wanted to do something with my hands, so teach me HVAC. So we're training him right now.
Yeah, you'd be good at diagnosing stuff.
Hey, yeah, and my brother is like an OCD kind of guy, so he's been really good at doing all the little things that maybe I'm not good at. So like everybody has
Right.
something they can offer to, the trades.
Yeah, send him on all the missing shorts in the system.
Yeah, all the little intermittent stuff, all the maintenance is
Yeah.
what he's really good at too. So that's what I like to send those guys on, like my brother, my cousin, that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, how did you get into the trades? I know you said you got in, or you were in the military, but you went to school after. You went to school for HVAC after that, right?
Yeah, after the military, yeah.
But what got you into
Um,
it?
so growing up, I spent a lot of my summers in Pennsylvania with my grandfather, and he's a general contractor, so he built everything, did it all, plumbing, electrical, built houses, and I would go to the work site with him because he's of the generation where you don't stop working. Uh,
Oh, dude,
so
my
we,
grandfather
yeah,
worked until the day he could not anymore, which was
right,
sorry to say, but like he got amputated, so his leg. So at that point, he can't do what he wants to do. But like that dude, toughest SOB that I ever knew.
right,
And then my dad was like that too, and I'm probably gonna be like that too.
yeah, it's a good trait. So hold on to it. Um, So I would spend summers with him, and I'm, young, and he'd hand me a box of nails and a 2x4 and a hammer and say, "Go ahead and just put all the nails into this wood," just to get me practice with hitting the hammer. And then I do little things, build decks or build stairs, which is cool because he's lived in a small community in Pennsylvania for that entire time. So every time I visit him, I can still go back and see all the things I helped on as a kid.
Oh, cool.
And working with him, I always was interested in the electrical stuff. And I've got a pretty bad ADHD. So I've got to have variety in my day every day, all day, or else I get kind of antsy and impatient with things. So when I got out, I was trying to figure out my life, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew the trades were always there and an option for me. And something I can't remember what it was exactly. I honestly think it was finding YouTube videos from HVAC,
Okay.
and where I was just like, that seems really interesting, mainly because I saw how much variety it was in your day. You're working on electrical stuff, you have a little bit of the plumbing stuff going on, you get all the refrigeration stuff, and you, all the different types of equipment you can work on.
And you can always change it up if you want to do something else.
Exactly. And I mean, inside HVAC industry, there are so many avenues,
Yeah.
and it it just kind of drew me to it. And then I got super lucky, and it was convenient for me because that schooling was a night classes, so I could
Oh, okay.
work all day and then go to night classes and get through the schooling, and it was one of the only night classes available.
Yeah, I remember going to school and there was well, I did work when I went to school, but I had the luxury, like I said, I worked for my dad, so I would do or try to do both. I would try to get my maintenance done and then go to, have a day for class, have a day for maintenance, have, whatever I could. There was some guys that did the night class. I think I had to do that one semester too, but if you really want it, you can do it. And um, it's funny because I'm the same way. I get so bored. I can't sit still. Like I even hate doing because we run a business. My dad sticks me with everything. I have to do the office work. That's the part that I hate. Sometimes I get behind because I can't sit still. That's my whole thing too. The HVAC refrigeration trade. I'm always traveling, always seeing something new, working on different things. I actually like the challenging calls personally, and those are the ones that I want to take on. So, it has everything for me too. But you know, during school, it was funny because there was one time we had a big project that they had going on. We had to drive out to I don't know if it was Corpus or something. It was like something 3 hours away, something like that. We had a big project to do because we had some pretty good accounts when we started. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna skip class today. I want to go do this project. I want to go get some experience, whatever it is, and I'll just deal with it. I've ran into my teacher at the Stripes at the gas station because I guess he was getting a breakfast taco or whatever it was, and he's like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be in class today?" I'm like, I got to go to work today. I don't know. I'm sorry." So
Yeah.
I got a lot of experience when I started, so that was kind of cool. But if you can get to school, that's a good way to get like hands on, learn how to put your gauges on, learn how to get the lingo, the superheat, the subcool, whatever it is. How long was your schooling for?
It was 1 full year, so 2 semesters,
Okay.
and I had to do a couple of like regular classes, which were like one was a technical math class, which I hate.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I went to
and
like
then
a
I had to do
community college I had to get my basics first, right? So it was math, whatever else that they have. Uh, I can't think right now, but the actual HVAC part of it, I think for me was like 3 semesters. So it was like a year and a half.
right, and we did a lot of computer work the first semester where it's teaching you the math behind everything, and
Mm.
it was especially with like electrical theory and stuff. Not
I
getting
had old school
crazy in depth.
teachers. I had old school teachers. They
Yeah,
just made us do everything. Like, oh, we're gonna build
yeah,
this duct. Do it.
yeah. A part of me wanted definitely more of that. I got enough at the last part of it, but what I did was I started working for an HVAC company halfway through, and I just put it in there like, hey, I need to go to school. I want to finish this, so if I could just be off in time so I could go to class, and they accommodated that, which was awesome.
That's cool.
So I was able to get both experience and the actual like technical training at school.
So how long did it take you? You're running your own service calls? I can see you have your own van, obviously. How long did
Right.
it
Yeah.
take you to get comfortable to run calls?
I got pretty comfortable within probably, um, I would say 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Um, and it was because they would do like mostly maintenance and then
Yeah.
maybe one or two service calls. But I I don't know, I just drilled it. I When I get into something, I deep dive really hard, and I think I was able to speed up my learning curve with that. Because I
And
mean, every night I would go to sleep to videos of,
yeah, I was gonna
like
say
quality HVAC or something.
now you could just watch a video, in your off time. You
Right,
get off work, throw a YouTube video on here and there, and you can just, like you said, have it on repeat. Uh, there's guys like, well, there's a lot of guys that post daily or post weekly. Like there's a lot of content out now versus like when I started, or yeah, when I
right,
started, it was more like reading. So like I would read up on things as much as I could because there wasn't HVAC YouTubers. But um, yeah, it's always about getting into it on your off time, right? Because that'll greatly expedite your like what you can do at work. So just like
right,
you said, just seeing it, a lot of people can see it and then do it. And I mean, nothing is as good as experience. I don't know if you've had like your moments where like you learn from experience, right? Like I've
right,
burned holes through copper, shorted out
right,
boards, shorted out contactors. I've done all of that stuff and I'm like, okay, don't do that don't do that specific thing next time, and you learn that way too.
Right. Exactly. It's always, I think one of the funniest things that I've experienced with trying to figure out what I was doing was the good old drilling in a zip screw and
Yeah.
hearing that psst at the end.
Oh, that's happened to you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm
I was
so
trying to hang
scared
a
of that.
capacitor.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I tried to hang a capacitor in like an outdoor condenser, and I barely put that screw into one of the U bends. Um, so I had on the fly at the end of the day, like figure out what I was going to do and take care of it. And luckily
Patch
enough, I
repair.
was able to get a good yeah, get a good
Yeah.
patch on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I that was one thing that I got really good at early in my career was patching because either I did it or something, happened and sometimes you can't get a coil or a part, whatever it is, and you got to do a patch repair, right? You can't always like replace the coil or the system or whatever it is. You got to do these patch repairs. So that's a good um, like skill to learn. I just like I said earlier, I've learning how to solder and stuff. I've done it to where I burn holes through, right? So I'm like, oh crap,
Right.
now I got to patch that or whatever it is. The whole screw in the copper, I've heard of that online so many times from people. I think I even saw somebody like on video catch themselves doing it, and that was always in my head after that. So I'm like, okay, I always check behind. I always check to make sure it's the right screw. Yeah, that is like my ultimate fear.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you'll only do it once.
That's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
You'll never do it again. Work-life balance is a big deal in this trade, right? Um, Trying to block out work when you're with your family, stuff like that. Do you have any hobbies, or how do you kind of set any boundaries for that? Because like I don't know if you have any issues with that. I learned to do it a long time ago. Like I don't like to bring work home, and I don't like to do vice versa, stuff like that. But I know hobbies help setting boundaries. Do you do stuff like that?
Yeah, I would say understanding that you've got to have the the line set up where like this is when I'm working and this is when I'm not working. That way you can shut that side of your brain off. That level of stress can get like turned off and pushed away, so that you can reset yourself. And one of the biggest things for me is, and, I have three young boys, and when they're with me, it's everything. So it's
Yeah.
easy to forget about work when you've got them running around and you're hanging out and playing and doing stuff. And then I've got a few hobbies during the week that I tend to use to kind of de-stress and get myself right for the next day. Um, which are all nerd stuff. I'm a kind of a nerd on the side as well. So
Well, that's me too. I used to be into video games. I don't really have time for that anymore, but like that's kind of why I do the content stuff. Like I love cameras and technology, and I'm always buying
right.
computer stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff that I like. And I used to fix electronics on the side way back in the day. So that's kind of the stuff that I gravitate to, or like, I like to tinker here and there.
Yeah, tinkering is a good way to describe it. I like messing with stuff. And then I recently got into PC gaming a little bit, which has now turned into researching better computers and building different stuff. And yeah, it's
My brother
expensive
is into
hobby.
that. Yeah, my brother's into that pretty hardcore. I assume he's a hardcore gamer. I never played with him, but he has all the PC stuff, all the high tech. You go into his room, he has like monitors everywhere, and
Yeah.
he works for us, right? He loves doing HVAC too, but he's the hardcore gamer of the family. And technology is so hard to keep up with too because I bought a gaming laptop a few years ago, thinking, okay, that's future proof, like right? It's a gaming laptop, it can do anything. And now it's like it's not worth. It's not, it's a paperweight. It doesn't do much. It can't run much. It's just like a constant thing that you have to deal with because I had to go out and buy a MacBook to do most of this podcast stuff. And then we're like thinking about buying something for the kids. And my girlfriend's trying to ask me, I'm like, don't buy that one. Don't buy that one. Don't like, they're all kind of trash, like on the entry level. So we had to find
Right.
one that's pretty good. And that's a whole other rabbit hole that, like I said, we can get down into sometime because like I'm just like super into technology. So I get that part of it. Is there anything that you learned on the job doing HVAC that kind of stood out to you, or any moments that stood out to you so far in your young career?
I would say it's been pretty unique and a kind of a cool experience, like going in on the residential side, going into houses, and meeting all these people and helping them out with their systems. There's a lot of negatives to that scenario. Obviously, when you go into somebody's house and there's an issue, it can kind of be negative, but I've seen a lot of positive things, going in and just talking to people and getting to is kind of expand, um, just your understanding of the world and the people around you. It's just been kind of a neat thing because you get to experience a lot of people.
Whether it's residential or commercial, you affect a lot of people's lives, right? I mean,
Right.
that might not be something you think about. You're in either somebody's home that they need cooling, heating, whatever time of year it is, and they might desperately need it. I've heard stories of it's like somebody elderly that needs
Right.
it, or you got babies in there. Something's going on. And on the commercial side, which is why I'll never do supermarkets, is you're responsible for like so much product, so much money is
Yeah.
tied up into these freezers and coolers and meat markets, stuff like that. Even like I do nothing but fast food chains. So like they have dough, whether it's a pizza place that goes bad if it's at a certain temperature, or they have frozen items, vegetables, like all this chicken stuff, all that kind of stuff that we deal with. And if you're not good at your job, if you're not there quick, if you don't fix it in time, that stuff can go bad, and they're gonna blame it on you. So just in any aspect of HVAC, you don't realize it. You see it everywhere. You walk into a store, there's HVAC, there's refrigeration. You go into somebody's home, there's HVAC, obviously, but it's everywhere and it affects everybody. Um, and it's and that's always my point. It's like it's everywhere. It affects everybody. That's why you should be doing it as a career, because you'll never
Yeah.
be out of a job. I mean, it's always going to be there.
Exactly. And I don't ever see a robot doing it.
A robot's not going to get on the rooftop and be able to change out a compressor or diagnose a intermittent issue.
Right. And it's just it's cool to be able to help people, in a small way, you know.
Exactly. Any advice for anybody coming in as far as like maybe what helped you learn, or, well, I think we touched on it, right? Like all the extra stuff
Right.
that you did after work. Anything else?
Just, I mean, one of the I think things that helped me a lot was having an open mind and, don't hesitate to jump in. I see a lot of guys who are kind of nervous and don't want to mess up, but there's that buffer zone built in, with every company. They need you to get better. They need you to progress. The only way you're going to do that is by getting your hands on it, making that mistake, and getting better the next time. So I think
Yeah.
it's vital for people to just dig in and go for it. Don't hesitate.
And it's okay to mess up, because my whole thing is when I have somebody that's new at our company, I tell them, one of the first things I tell them, I'm like, if you break it or make it worse, I can fix it. So don't worry about it. Like, we can fix it. The more important thing is like you actually did it so that I don't have to be here next time. Like, that's the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
So I think that's a big part of it. You've got to step in and just go for it.
All right, Matt. Well, we've been here an hour. I don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate you taking the time. HVAC national champion, and I'll leave everything in the description where they can. Are you on social media for people to follow or anything?
I am. It's not. It's just like kind of a personal thing. But I've posted some of my HVAC stuff on there. Yeah,
Well, if you want, I can
versatile
I can
hawk.
include.
Yeah,
If you want, I can include it, and I'll also include the clips or where they can watch the HVAC nationals, see your competition, all that kind of stuff. I'll leave all that down below. And like I said, thank you for taking the time to sit down here.
yeah. Thank you very much for having me. It's been an awesome time.
Awesome. Um, Everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.